Has anybody else noticed the prevalence of the word pro in all caps on YouTube? How to become a pro versus amateur. I paid pros on Fiverr to break into my house. Here's my thing. Why is the internet so obsessed with pros? Is pro some secret keyword that boosts your video to the top of the search algorithm? And if so, who are these armies of drum cells sitting in their parents' basements, searching all night for any and all information on how to become a pro? Are they making pro drummer playlists? Know what's trading at a discount? How to be a good drummer. How to be a musical drummer. Get off my lawn! Okay, I agree. I was getting a little whiny. I think there's a secret rule that as soon as you turn 40 as a musician, you have to start complaining about the kids. But did anybody in all this pro obsession stop to think, is this really the thing we should be obsessing about? And as you're making that decision, I've got some things for you to consider. 5 of them, actually. In this video, 5 reasons you may not want to become a pro drummer, or at least not make that your only criterion for success. Stay tuned. Reason 1, pro doesn't tell you anything about ability. So you want to be a pro, you probably picture Wackel. Maybe Larnell Lewis. Traveling around the world, playing gigs, getting paid. Like an international assassin. Or a Jedi.
But what I do have are a very particular set of skills.
Wait, wasn't that... Anyway, get in, get out, hang out backstage with the kids telling them to practice their rudiments, then onto the jet, onto the next. Wham, bam, thank you, sir. But here's the thing about that. This guy's also a pro. And as some of the Fiverr experiments demonstrated, there's actually a big range of skills amongst those who get paid to do music. I mean, do you really want to be associated with Expert Village?
I will roll down on the toms and we'll use them, okay?
Yeah, so we're looking for somebody who's a little more Slum Village. And you're a little bit more Expert Village.
1, 2, ready, go.
Just like being an airline pilot, being a music pro once carried a certain cachet, and now less so. So don't assume that just because you're a pro, everyone's going to assume you're a good player. Reason number 2, if getting paid is your only aim, you can get off course fast. Okay, I guess my editor's trying to make a comment about my being too verbose with my titles. Okay, that's not funny. Still not funny. Okay, look, I'm sorry, okay? Jeez. Anyway, what I'm getting at with number 2 is if your primary aim is just to get paid, nay, to make music your only source of income, which is one standard definition of pro, you might jump at some opportunities that aren't actually great for your long-term plan. Right out of college, I auditioned for a kind of high-end wedding band. I was desperate to get this gig because it paid $30,000 a year. Salary. To my college student brain, that was like, mission accomplished. Got that income thing handled. What I wasn't bargaining on was time in rehearsal, on the road, etc. Time that would take me away from practicing the music I wanted to play. And the opiate effect of that salary, which could have lulled me into complacency. I say could have because I didn't get the gig. Instead, I had to scrap. Since nobody was hiring, I put together my own band. This had numerous and immediate advantages. I was playing with the exact players I wanted to, I was playing the exact music I wanted to, and there was total congruence between my practice and performance. I didn't know about this at the time, but there's something called the corner office test when you're deciding whether to work somewhere. Find the person in the corner office, the closest to the person you want to be when you grow up, the most successful version of your dreams in that company. If you don't think you'd like their life, leave as soon as possible. When, as an adult, I run into people in their 40s and 50s still playing in wedding bands, it's a little like Will Ferrell in Wedding Crashers.
Jazz? What the fuck do you want?
Marginal look. So don't let the siren song of being able to call yourself a pro lure you to a less than optimal gig that's divergent from your real goals. Numero 3, you may not want the pro lifestyle. One of the best follows of the year on Instagram was Trillionaire Life. It used to be whenever I wanted to stand in for whatever douchey posers who try to embody what they think suburban middle-class kids think rich people are like, I used to have to waste a whole half hour searching douche on private jet on Google Images. Now I can just go to Trillionaire Life and grab what I want in seconds. Anyway, around 0809, around when they started introducing those little social media plugins that alerted all of your Facebook friends whenever you posted a gig to your calendar. I don't remember what it was called, but I hope it was called Flex. Anyway, in that era, a lot of my former classmates started getting gigs. It was like a gig notification fire hose every time I logged on to the Facebook. And by the way, who thinks your Facebook friends in Kansas are gonna go to 6 back-to-back gigs with the same material in New York? Nope, call it what it was. It was a flex. Then came tour porn.
I did invite him to play with us, and he said yes.
So it was like Trillionaire Life before Trillionaire Life. Needless to say, those of us still playing for tips back in New York wanted this life. Except corner office test. When I'd ask real touring musicians what the life was like, this is what they'd say. Yeah, I can't hang late. I gotta go to Amsterdam tomorrow. Can you believe we're going to Asia, but they booked me through Europe? Because he saved $100. I could have covered that. That's practically an extra day of traveling. So I got an 8-hour layover in Schiphol. Then I'm in the middle seat all the way to Singapore. That's 12.5 hours, bro. That's assuming my bass doesn't get yanked again by customs. Then we're staying at a youth hostel. Turns out when you drill down to what it actually looks like to be a touring pro, for everybody but the most elite musicians, it's kind of a grind. And don't even talk about the money. Yeah, I'm making like $3K for this whole run. That's before taxes, and I'm out for an entire month. If I'd known I could have most of the upside of this life and none of the downside by just becoming an international touring clinician and writing my own ticket, I wouldn't have idolized this pro lifestyle quite so much. Is he gone? Good. I was just trying to make him feel better. Truth is, I'm getting paid. Yeah, Pat Metheny, you want to know Gulfstream 60 or 65? You know, everybody goes 65, but I'm a vintage man. I like the subtle touches. Yeah, same price, 100 grand. Obviously. Number 4, pros don't dictate terms. Good drummers do. So it's one thing to joke about flying on private jets and getting paid, but there are a lot of things in the music world that operate on a sliding scale. From the obvious, like which gigs you get offered and how much you get paid, to the less obvious, like how much do you get for a sponsored post on Instagram? What kind of terms do you get when sponsors actually approach you? See my video on sponsorship. Are you flying coach on the red eye, or are you flying Delta One? And how far in advance do they call you to sub for Matt Halpern? Because if you're high up in the pecking order, you're going to be one of the first people they offer the gig to. And the other people are going to have to wait till you accept or refuse. And sometimes they'll have to wait till the last minute. And all this kind of stuff is about one thing: negotiating power. And you know what gives you negotiating power? Being one of the best players in the band leader's contacts. You know, it doesn't matter worth a toss, whether you're currently full-time in music because you're in the #1 wedding band in Fond du Lac. So spend that time practicing, because that's the ticket. Okay, there's something else. Here's an inconvenient fact. Know what else gives you negotiating power? To get tours, but also sponsorships, getting on Drumeo, that type of stuff. Hate to say it, but it's your Instacam. Yep, the sad truth in the internet age is for everything but total word-of-mouth gigs, your internet following equals your negotiating leverage. So be good, and then once you're good, be El Estapario Siberiano. Absolutely shellac Instagram and YouTube and get good and internet famous. Then you can write your own ticket. Unless you want to end run the whole thing and have kindly piss off money. Then just get on YouTube and sell courses directly to your audience. Things like the coaching course. For more info, just click below and you can get my free. Anyway, in none of those cases does already being a pro have anything to do with those airline upgrades or straight getting paid. Finally, number 5. Telling everybody you're a pro is kind of a bad look. And I'd know because I'm constantly getting comments like, this guy says he's a pro, where does he get off? Here's the thing, I get this kind of hate, and I've never once on this channel said that I'm a pro. For all the reasons before, but I still get hate, and for good reason. Music has kind of a, I'll say, Dutch, because that's the stereotype, culture of not really big upping yourself very much.
I don't really have a lot to comment on that, except that he was being a pussy.
Okay, not all Dutch people are the same, all right? God. Anyway, one of my Dutch friends told me there's kind of a tall poppies thing in the Netherlands, in a positive way. The last thing you want to be accused of is acting like you're better than somebody else. Which is why you don't see many Dutch flexing on Trillionaire Live. Except Max f***ing Verstappen. Don't get me started. Anyway, if the Dutch are kind of like this, musicians are 100% like this. So much so that if you see a musician trying to big up themselves too obviously. I was best in my class at Berkeley and then moved to New York and just started killing it. Like just straight taking names. No. You'd automatically know this guy is full of shit. Or on rare occasions, technically proficient but super green. Musicians, when they do brag, are way more likely to say something like this. Ah, you thought I sounded nice? Man, that's super flattering. Thank you. You know, I'm just trying to hang up here. I was humbled when Miles called when I was at Berkeley. I actually didn't believe it was really Miles until he said, it's really Miles. Because I didn't have a lot of money growing up. So if Berkeley hadn't been so generous with scholarship, I'd probably still be making milkshakes in Fond du Lac. Anyway, which part was your favorite? Yes, it's performative, but it also reinforces true humility and true dues paying. That's why, with very few flamboyant exceptions, great musicians are rarely dicks. They're way more likely to be humble, generous human beings. With a few exceptions. All of which is to say, if you're a true pro, you're probably not going to be like, I'm a pro. I get paid to do music. Yep. You're probably going to be more like, I was lucky enough to play with Pat Metheny in the 90s, and then Lenny Kravitz hired me for a couple tours. But end of the day, I'm just a musician, man, just like you. And that's how you get the gig. Get the gig? You just told people to stop obsess over being pros. Now you're telling them how to get the shh. That's how you get the gig. Anyway, if you paid close attention to this video, you'll remember that in one of the items I said what truly gives you leverage is not being a pro, but being good at the drums. And if you'd like to become better at the drums, you may want to follow the exact system I followed to go from being to being a lot better in a much shorter time than I thought possible. Then I took what I did and coached a bunch of other drummers through it and refined it. I kept only what worked and threw out everything else. That became my flagship course, the coaching course. But we only open it a few times a year and we only offer it to people on my exclusive mailing list. If you'd like to get on the list, I recommend you click the link below the player, enter your email address in on the next page, and I'll send you a bribe. My 3-video mini course, which is completely free, which will make you better in the next 3 weeks, I assert, than you've gotten in the previous 6 months. Dudes, it's been real. Always have fun. Check you soon. Boo, boo, what the heck is that song? Boo, boo. It's some kind of reggae classic, isn't it? Windows speaking 101. We're killing it with the windows speaking. Okay, I think that's a good vibe, right? A little greenery behind me.